Hello, today we're going to look at screen replacements using After Effects and Mocha AE, which is included with After Effects. We will track a phone, keeping the reflections, and make it as realistic and believable as possible. Here we go. Alright, so we're in Premiere. Assume this is where you would start when you have the clip that you need the screen replaced. If you're editing in Premiere, it's very easy to navigate between After Effects and Premiere. The way I usually do it, sometimes people can use a dynamic link. I find it's just as easy to take the clip that I have here. This is the first one that we're going to do. Control C, and we'll just go into After Effects. I already have the project open, but we're going to make a new one. So we'll call this TV replacement, and let's make a new composition. The clip width and height is standard 1080. It's shot from a Canon DSLR, so it's pretty crude, but it will serve the example that I'm trying to show here. So let's go ahead and call it TV. So now that we have a comp open, we can just hit Control V, and that will paste the comp from our timeline in Premiere into the timeline here. So real quick, I'll just go to the end, hit N, and I just like to trim this up just to keep it neat and tidy. Go to composition, trim comp to work area, and then here we have the whole comp to that clip. All right, so just looking at this clip as it is, the point of the way that I'm gonna do this is to maximize how much detail there is in the reflections. I see some tutorials will put green screen on whatever monitor that they want to replace, and sometimes that works, and that's fine. This is another way that I like to approach most of my screen replacements, and that's just to use either black screen, or you could put a white screen or a gray. Gray usually works pretty well because the white will kind of cast a glow sometimes. All right, so we have our clip. I'm gonna head and select it. We're gonna go to animation and track in Mocha AE. Now this clip is gonna be pretty easy. It's overwrite because I already brought this in before. So just looking at the clip now. So we'll start at the beginning, and we'll go up to the X spline tool. So this will just create a spline around where we want to track. And I'm just gonna pull these up just to make a harder edge around the track, these corners here. Now what we'll run into, if you're tracking a screen width of reflections, it can sometimes mess up the track, but this one shouldn't do too bad because there's not a lot going on in the reflections besides this. You can see like a ceiling light there. So we'll just go along with it, and then we can fix it once. If there's any issues, we can fix it after the track. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's adjust that a little bit more. And the great thing about doing it with a black screen is that you don't get a lot of light spill. Once you put the screen that you want to replace on top, sometimes you'll see light spill around and it just kind of looks ugly, and then it's more of a hassle to try and get that out. So we'll go ahead and track forward, and I'm using the standard tracking 20%. All this stuff is just default. We'll get into that in the next track, messing with that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up through this. All right, so we're coming up to the finish line here, and it looks like the reflections did have a little bit of impact on it, so no worries, it's not a big deal. We'll just go back to the endpoint, come down to the adjust track panel, and here we can make adjustments to the track. So let's go ahead and move forward in time. Here it's starting to drift, so here you can see when I move this block, it'll show me where I'm correcting it to. and we'll just keep scrubbing through time. And it kind of auto adjusts, so, and it's kind of hard to see that corner up here. The exposure tool, you can set this up so that it's easier to look at when you're tracking, when you need some detail in the shadows. It kind of helps. Let's go move this. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and go back into After Effects. We're going to go down to export tracking data. Select After Effects corner pin supports motion blur. Copy to clipboard. Go back to After Effects. All right, so now we need a TV composition. So we just need a 1080, since this is a 1080 screen or a 16:9 screen. I've already made one here. Just kidding. Yes, I did. Drag mine in. This is from a previous video. So I'm going to Control V from what I've copied in Mocha. And here's a good thing to know. I wasn't at the beginning of the timeline, so if I hit U on this, you can see all the keyframes got from the endpoint right here. So we'll just drag those back. And there we go. It's looking pretty good so far. So now we need the reflections that we destined to have and retain. So we'll go to the blending mode, switch it to screen, and there we go. We have our reflections. You can lower the opacity on it depending on how bright you wanted the monitor to be. The default 100 is pretty good. So let's go ahead and just scrub through this. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Great, so we'll just add a couple different things. We're gonna add a fast blur on, maybe just do 0.5, just to take down some of the harshness of it, harshness of it, and also gonna take a channel blur. And this, I'm gonna use the alpha blurriness, and just a little bit. Awesome, so there we go. All right, so our next clip is this one. Now this is a lot more advanced than the previous. We'll go ahead and just watch it real quick. So there's a lot of camera shake. This method I think is better than using just the corner pin tracking in After Effects. So let's go ahead and get into this one. All right, so I'm gonna take it, copy, bring it into After Effects. I'm going to make a new phone replacement, make a new comp. Phone. I'm getting lazy. All right, so we have a new comp. Go ahead and select this comp down here, Control V. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit N at the end of the clip. Composition trim comp, just to keep it all together. So I know that I said that I usually don't use green screen, or sometimes I'll use white. And in this case, I just use green, and I kind of am kicking myself because I should have used white or gray, but this will work. So I'm gonna start off by applying a key light, because I want to get this to a medium gray. That will look good once I apply the phone comp. And we will select just that mid color, and let's go ahead and go to, in the view, go to screen matte, and we're going to use a screen pre-blur, and in the screen matte we will also use screen softness, and let's just adjust this a little bit. And I just want to keep some of the other stuff out of it. Most of it you won't really even notice, but All right, so let's go back to view, final result. And we're gonna place a solid underneath. So new solid. Gonna make it dark gray. And hit OK. Place that under the clip. And that's looking pretty good, but let's apply a channel blur. Channel blur. And same thing, we're gonna just blur the alpha a bit. Repeat edge pixels. Okay, so we're getting there. We need to, there we go. In the replace method, we're gonna, instead of soft color, we'll do hard color. I find that it works better getting the jaggies out. And then to retain more of the reflection, you can see that it's kind of weak right now. I'm gonna move the color selector to something more vibrant so that it will pop some of that definition out there. So that looks pretty good, and we can work with that. So if we scrub through, perfect. Yeah, it looks good. It almost looks like I had a blank screen up. Great. So now I'm gonna go into Mocha AE. So highlighting my clip, go to animation, track in Mocha. And I'm just gonna verify, yep, frame rate, and everything is good there. Hit OK, and yes, I'm gonna overwrite. So we have the clip. I'm going to go and start my spline. Just selecting, I know most of this doesn't change. Although I want to keep the reflection out of it so that it doesn't mess it up too bad. Now this is a pretty shaky clip, so it's going to be a little difficult getting a good track. But let's give it a shot. All right, so down here in the track panel, I'm going to check the minimum pixels or percentage of pixels used. I'm gonna bump that up to 90, and that will take it a bit longer of a time to track, but it'll be more accurate. I also want to check the perspective, just because the way that the phone is, it's gonna change its orientation to the camera. So, and let's go up to the S, what does that stand for? Show planar surface, of course, duh, S. And I'm gonna put my corners where they need to be. And a good tip to have, if you ever need, this is always going to be the top left corner, so if you need the screen to be rotated, you can just rotate it this way. And that way, whenever you bring the data into After Effects, it's oriented right. All right, so I got the corners lined up, and I think we can begin tracking this. This is going to be pretty rough, but let's go ahead. All right, so I had an issue with the program, so I had to come back in and retrack my footage, but I just tried to mimic the same thing that we did before, and it looks like we have some issues with the master track. So let's go to adjust track, and we'll position these like so. And now this is a pretty harsh clip to throw you into, but it'll give you a good idea of what not to do, what to avoid. So these type of shots are kind of a pain in the butt, but I mean, if you want that realistic look, then you gotta put in the time. All right, so let's watch what we just did. So I just adjusted all through the timeline there. There's one little hiccup here. Let's just scrub through each frame. And again, we can come back once we bring it into After Effects and make any adjustments. And let's keep going. If there's any glaring problems. So let's go back to our first keyframe. We'll hit export tracking data. Make sure that's set on corner pin. Copy the clipboard. Go back to After Effects. And I'm gonna bring in a comp that I had already built. This was a iPhone 6 Plus, so that gives you any reference. You can find the screen resolution online. So I made a comp at that screen resolution, which is 1242 by 2208. And I just took a screenshot and did a couple things. That's not really the point of this, but so we'll take our comp and hit Control V, and that will see. I did it again. It wasn't at the beginning of the timeline. I'll hit U and I'm gonna select all these. And we'll just move all those keyframes back to the beginning. So you can see that it's not in the right position, but that's an easy fix. We can hit A on the keyboard with the phone comp selected, and it just adjusts the anchor point. Great. All right, so now that we moved the anchor point, we can adjust the mode to screen. Well, actually, let's do multiply since that background is pretty light, and then we'll just hit Control C on the comp, just duplicate it, and we'll use screen on this one, and we'll just fade this down a bit. We can even fade the multiplied version down too, until we get about that. That looks about right. And we're gonna need to compensate for this motion blur you can see on the phone. I shot at 180 degrees. It should be the normal amount of motion blur that we're used to, but we can take a look at that by right-clicking on the comp tab up here. Go to comp settings, advanced, and we can see that we're at a 180 degree shutter, and samples is good. That's all good. So if you ever need to adjust the default motion blur shutter, you can do that there. So now it's looking better. And I may want to actually bring both of these down a bit in the opacity. Just because I want that reflection to pop out a little bit more. Anyway, we're gonna need to do something else here. We can see that, my thumb comes over the phone, so let's adjust that by duplicating this original plate we have here. And I'm just gonna solo it right now, because the only thing that I want is just the thumb to be on top. So let's go to the view on the key light plugin we have here. Go to screen matte, and here we can see we need this black and just my thumb white. So let's adjust this. Go to screen matte. We'll adjust these settings here. I'm gonna adjust the color back to its lighter version. That way, there we go. We kind of isolate the thumb there. And we're looking pretty good on these. Just minor adjustments to the clip black and clip white. That looks pretty good. So we'll go back to final result. I'll adjust the screen softness a bit. That's a bit better there. Now it's going to be moving a lot, so there's some motion blur with it too. So we'll go ahead and render this out and take a look-see. All right, not bad at all. All right, so let's adjust the two-phone comps and their opacity a little bit more, and that will help alleviate this thumb shadow here. All right, guys, that's it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Make sure you liked and subscribe for more visual effects tutorials. All right, thanks, guys. See you in the next video.